for the recording. Put that or not.
It's great you all made it here on a nice warm day. So I'll just give you a short intro to the biology of birds course. Before I do that, just say a little bit about my background. I'm a ecologist with the Nature Conservancy, and I work on migratory birds mostly, and when they're actually in the process of migrating. And also have the unfortunate task of working in the Bahamas every winter to work on an endangered warbler, the Kirtland warbler, that breeds only in Michigan and winters only in the Bahamas. So we're going down there in 3 weeks. So I guess with that.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
So this is a spring course. And just give you a brief overview of what we do in the course and what our objectives are. One is to learn field skills in ornithology, point counts, and how you measure vegetation associated with where the birds are distributed. We take a look at some banding operations, so you can see some of that kind of activity. All the important techniques that are used in the study of birds in the field. We also have a field project, a research project, so you get to learn research skills, generating a working hypothesis, how you design and test that hypothesis, analyze the data, write it up, and then give our presentation to other members of the spring session. So that's always a fun project, and people always have a good time trying to sort through all the questions in the first few days of the course and coming up with something to test. And also, you become knowledgeable in the natural history of birds and how you identify birds in the field, both visually and by sound. So you'll be proficient in learning maybe 100 to 150 species of birds in no time at all. And it's always a lot of fun to see that growth curve, and how much you learn so quickly. And then also an appreciation of the adaptability of birds and all the different environments the birds use, and the ecology of the birds, behavior, song, and all those sorts of things that are particularly evident in spring when the birds are breeding, pairing, nesting, and so forth. So we do this through field trips. We go out on a lot of field trips throughout northern Michigan. So I mentioned you have the field project, and typically a class works as a group to work on that project. And in that field project, you get to learn a variety of field techniques depending on what project you select. You also get to learn birds through looking at study skins and how to identify birds and define features that are used to distinguish different species of birds. We have a series of lectures on biology of birds that supplement what you see in the field. You also get to enjoy sunrises. You may have heard that the bird course gets up rather early. That's true. So we usually leave around 5:30 in the morning, but there's nothing more glamorous and glorious than seeing the sun come up and the loons are calling and the spring chorus of the birds. You'll actually love it. We also have field breakfasts. So we'll take our breakfast out in the field. We'll stop somewhere by a stream or out by somewhere around a great lake and have breakfast there, sometimes a hot breakfast that people appreciate as well. We visit a lot of places in northern Michigan. We go in the upper right. You'll see Whitefish Point in Canada across the way. So we get to see a lot of migrating raptors going through there. In the upper left, a wetland along Lake Huron. We go to a lot of forest systems and grassland systems, and we also go to Lake Michigan as well. So you get to see at least 3 of the Great Lakes, and a lot of different environments, each one with a different suite of bird species. Some of the birds that you're likely to see and learn in here include everything from the bald eagle on the upper left, and who knows the one in the middle, in the top. So you get to know that. That's a scarlet tanager. There we go. And a magnolia warbler in the upper right, a family of common mergansers in the lower right, and then an indigo bunting, not a bluebird, in the lower left. The students have really a lot of fun projects, and the way we start out is that kind of get to know a little bit about the birds first week, find out what you're interested in, and you meet as a group, generate ideas, and then come up with something that can be tested in a short period of time. So what the students have done over the years is they select a diverse set of projects, including looking at the foraging behavior or the way the American redstarts move through the foliage, finding their prey, Same thing with red-eyed vireo, both very common birds at UMBS. You can get a sample size readily. One student, a group of students was really interested in raptors, so they used playback of an accipiter, a hawk that specializes on feeding on small birds, and then looking at the response of redstarts to playback. And then last year, people put out concentrations of hummingbird feeders, and then looked at the response of the feeders to different constellations of feeders and different numbers of feeders to look how resources affect the behavior of the birds. So there's a lot of different things you can do, and that's just kind of a sample of what students have elected to do. Students have taken the class and done a lot of different things afterwards based on what they learned in the class and many other things. So some have gone on to graduate school, and one student's looked at pigmentation, for example, and the house finch, a common bird here on campus, and the biochemistry of the processes leading to colors that range from red to yellow. Others have gone on to the University of Chicago and looked at bird communities in the Himalayas. Others have come here to the University of Michigan and gone into other fields that are not related to birds, like pharmacology. Some have gone on to field studies and participated in other field projects all across the U.S. and the Himalayas and up to the Arctic. And some have gone on to environmental ed. So what students learn in the course can be applied in a wide range of things, and it's always a lot of fun to be able to write letters of recommendation for the students that have participated in the course. So that's a brief run of biology of birds.
Great, thank you. Next up, Tom.
Hello,
Hold on, Tom. I'm going to make you use this so we can record
okay.
you. And quickly, just raise your hand if you took birds, so that if students have questions, so we at least have one birds alum here. I think we have a alum from almost every class, so at the end we'll ask you to raise your hand. Okay, thanks. I'll get your slides.
So we'll keep this completely informal. If you have any questions whatsoever, just raise your hand and we'll get to it. I'm one of 3 instructors for the course Field Methods and Great Lakes Oceanography. Well, actually 4 with Donna here. But during the 2 weeks of this course, starting on June 7th, lasting to about the 20th, you get totally immersed in the Great Lakes. You'll be learning about the Great Lakes through a series of lectures, discussion groups, and I think why everybody takes the course, and the most fun by far and the most interesting, is you get to spend a lot of time on the NOAA vessel, the 82-foot Laurentian. I say NOAA vessel, it's actually a U of M ship that's leased and operated by NOAA. They come from Muskegon at their Muskegon field station, come around, dock in Sheboygan, and we go out pretty much during the 2 weeks. We probably go out maybe 10 days. We leave the field station and take the 15-minute drive to Sheboygan, aboard the ship, spend all day on the ship, get back in a nick of time to meet dinner, and then in the evenings, most of the time, you analyze the samples that you collect. As I mentioned, I'm Tom Nollet, but my specialty are benthic invertebrates, benthic communities, specializing in invasive species and Dracaean mussels. The other instructor, Dave Schwab's, a scientist that is a physical oceanographer, looks at waves, currents, and the other instructor is Gary Fonsdale, who's an expert in primary production in algae. All 3 of us, Dave, Gary, and myself, are research scientists at the Water Center with the Graham Institute here at U of M. And we spent all our career with NOAA. All of us have 35 years experience. So between the 3 of us, you get a good feel for the biological and physical aspects of the lakes. This could be the 3rd year we're teaching the course. We seem to be increasing each year. We had 8 students in 13 and 10 students in 14. And we're comfortably taking about 14 to 15 students on the ship. So if you're thinking of taking a course, I advise you to sign up early, because we do have a limit. It's just that it gets kind of cumbersome in some of the things that you will be doing on the ship, collecting samples and such things like that. Basically, when we go out on the water, we go out to Sheboygan, we sample in and around the Straits region, northern Lake Huron, sampling deep parts of Lake Huron all the way to shallow, warmer areas of Lake Huron. And it's not all work when we're out there. We take side trips past Mackinac Island underneath the bridge, and we have a night sampling in which we have pizza, right? It's kind of nice to see the sunset. You know what it's like. It's kind of fun. But it'll be fun, but it'll be hard work. Like I said, you'll be spending a lot of time on the water, but also analyzing samples that are time sensitive back in the labs when we come back to the field station. Here's a typical looking underneath the microscope, looking at animals and those sorts of things. In the chem lab, looking at chlorophyll and other chemical components of the water samples that we collect. You back up a minute, maybe. These are taken bottom samples here, water samples. This is a side scan sonar. The first year we were looking for shipwrecks, and we didn't tell them that we knew where it was, and they kind of got an idea because we put the jug where it was. But they were able to see with the side scan. Here's a netto for plankton in the water, and here's just getting ready with the crane. Okay, let's go back. Let's say we analyzing samples. Next slide. These are some of the things that people talked about the course the first year. They loved it. You got to love the water. You got to love being on the ship in collections, and the people that take the course tend to do that. So it's loaded that everyone will enjoy themselves. Okay, next slide. These are just some of the pictures from the port of Sheboygan. We dock at the USGS site, and when you look out that way, you're going out into northern Lake Huron. So typically, it's course of grade 50% participation, 50% a report. And in the report, you analyze and writing a scientific paper of everything you found, working in teams. So there's too much lab work, too many collections for everybody to do everything. So what we do is work in teams, and then you share the data. And what's important for the report is the interpretation of things that you find. And we show field methods of tried and true methods such as the Secchi disc to measure water clarity, all the way to learning about remote sensing by satellite imagery. So it's a broad spectrum of a lot of things, but current things that are very relevant to Great Lakes research in the present time. So, if anything else to add, Donna, or?
I remember that I was impressed that every single student had an opportunity to learn about the equipment. And so when you walked away, that's on your resume. You have all of that.
Right. We tend to rotate the teams, so you get a chance. Some people didn't like looking underneath the microscope, like to do the laboratory work, so that's for their team, that's what they did. Some people just love to spend all the time underneath the microscope, like I do. So, they said, let me do this part of the study, and so they kind of divided up into different tasks for that particular team. So,
We'll hold questions for the end, just to keep it moving.
All right.
For now. Keith, are you ready to go?
I'm ready to go.
Okay. So those are our two spring classes. The birds is a 4-week class, mid-May to mid-June. Oceanography is 2 weeks, basically the first 2 weeks of June, right?
Yeah, June 7th. June 7th.
So now we're transitioning to summer. Yes? Yes, okay. So the other two classes that are offered in the spring are general ecology and also ethnobotany. And again, we have some bulletins. Maybe if you've looked at it, pass it around to someone else. We have plenty of these in our office. I've underestimated how many of you would come out. But ethnobotany, general ecology, and birds in the spring. The short term is oceanography. And now Keith Taylor from the English department is going to talk about his class, environmental writing. And yes. I'm gonna mic you so that we can record.
Like this. We can. Because in the literary parts of this university, we do this a lot. We stand up in front of people. And I'm sorry I got here late, and I'm sorry I'm going to rush out right after this because we're thinking about hiring people, and I got to go talk to them. So there's at least 10 people in the room I should be hugging, and just consider yourself hugged, and I'll talk to you in June. Except you. So the class that I teach, you started about 10 years ago. It was an effort to broaden the curriculum just a little bit, and there had been a request to have a writing and literature class up there. So people who do my class are also doing another class, and we call this class environmental writing, and the hope is that people are going to write things even coming off the science they're doing in their other classes. And quite frankly, the best papers we've had done have been that, although I never restrict anybody from anything, so we get papers on all kinds of things. Probably the hardest thing to say about my class is that in the course of 8 weeks, you will read 5 books, cover to cover. And that's become a more difficult thing lately for people to read 5 books in 8 weeks. The books we read are really good ones. Some of you will have already done the Sand County Almanac. We go from that to Ernest Hemingway's Nick Adams stories, which all take place right there within 40 miles of, which the best ones take place within 40 miles of where we're at. And we go and visit those sites. People don't know that Hemingway was formed in northern Michigan. But he was. He spent every summer there until he went off to the First World War, and then came back there to heal from his wounds. Read a novel. Going to read a book of essays by the New Yorker writer Elizabeth Colbert called The Sixth Extinction this year. That'll be a lot of laughs. And end with an E.O. Wilson book, beautiful book that's been around for a long time. So we provide a little bit of difference. We travel around a bit. We go to these interesting places. We walk around, we read books, and you write papers. 4 short ones, 1 very short, 3 kind of short, and 1 kind of long. So nobody seems to have any trouble getting it done, which is great. But it's a good class. It's a lot of fun. We get to know each other real well. I've even been having coffee. Coffee with my class from last year, and it's been great. Okay, and I hope you come. You can find me, by the way, since I have to run. I'm sorry about that. My email is KEITAY, the first 3 letters of my name, at umich.edu. And please, give me an email, and I'll answer anything. And now I have to leave. I was going to steal a piece of pizza, but there's far too many of you, and not enough pizza there. So I'm not even going to steal a piece of pizza, which is nice. And thank you guys. Take care.
Okay, now we're going to try an experiment and have Chuck Davis, who is, let's see, Chuck is the instructor for our field botany class. And we're going to try to connect remotely with him and then and share his slides. So first of all, Chuck, can you say hello and let's see if we can hear you?
Yeah, hi.
We're good.
I can't actually see you, but anyway, it's should I go ahead and start?
I would say go ahead and start. And there's a room full of people. I know I was kind of skeptical when I talked to you, but we're popping at the seams here. So go ahead and talk. It's all yours.
Okay. Hi everyone. I'm as Alicia mentioned, I'm Chuck Davis. I'm actually coming to you virtually from Harvard University. I have been a faculty member here for about a decade, and I presently direct the Harvard University Herbarium. But it turns out that I have a long history and interest in Michigan that continues today. I grew up there. I was a camp kid at UMBS. I was then a student. I was an undergrad at the University of Michigan, and then have returned on and off as a faculty member since 2002. So it's a tremendously special place for me. In my role as a faculty, I've taught the field botany of Northern Michigan class. And this year, it's a real honor to be co-teaching this with Tony Resnicek. And Tony can't be there tonight, but those of you that know him know that he's just remarkable. He knows, he's a world authority on the plants of the Great Lakes region and their ecology as well, and most recently co-authored the latest edition of the Michigan Flora. He is on campus, actually. He lives out at the herbarium, and if you like, I'm sure he'd be happy to entertain any visits out there. So what I want to do is actually just transition to show you a few slides, and hopefully this will work. I can't do the full screenshot. We tried this earlier today and it didn't quite work out, but hopefully this is sufficient. And by the way, you should feel free to reach out to me at the address here at the bottom, and I'm happy to pass that along to Alicia as well. You can find me if you Google Davis at Harvard. But one of the most exciting things I think about courses at the biostation is the fact that the classroom is really is held out in the field, and we take every opportunity to spend as much time as we can outdoors. And this is just one of the many different habitats that we stop at. This is a typical kind of Great Lakes shoreline shot, and this was taken on an overnight trip that we did to the Upper Peninsula. It's the southern shores of Lake Superior. And you know, having been someone that spends a lot of time in northern Michigan, we take you to the places that you know, where memories just kind of get burned into your brain. You will never forget some of these spots, and many of them have quite unique and distinctive plant communities. Another one, again, this is on an Upper Peninsula trip, are the bogs of the region. Again, this is actually Chris here studying some of the flora on this floating mat, and then you know, here are some of the unique plants of the region, and I highlight some of the real gems. This is the dwarf lake iris, which is actually Great Lakes endemic. It's a little stunted iris. And then we even have a Michigan endemic, which is it's a monkey flower named in honor of the state of Michigan. And here you can see the map of its distribution. So this is actually the only place in the world where this monkey flower occurs. And so the way in which we teach the course is actually two-parted. So we first kind of utilize an evolutionary framework, and that's really where kind of my interest and my expertise comes into play. I'm a plant evolutionary biologist. So one of the things that kind of knits all of life on Earth together is actually this phylogenetic framework, so this branching tree-like diagram. And so we'll talk about kind of the major landmarks of land plant evolution, such as vasculature, the evolution of the seed, and of course the radiation of flowering plants. But it'll be couched within this more local context. Okay, so evolution will be one component of the course. The other, of course, is that there is an ecological context to the distribution of species, and so we focus on abiotic and biotic factors that govern where species live and where they grow. And so I mentioned some of the habitat types earlier. You'll also see hardwood forests. And the one really cool thing about northern Michigan is that these little pockets of boreal sort of fringe elements creeps down into parts of northern Michigan. So you actually get to see some plants and communities of species that you would normally otherwise only associate with more northern regions. It's a really special place in terms of a mix of the northern range of southern things and the southern range of northern things. And then also, we take a geological perspective as well. Most of the diversity you see on the landscape arose within the last 20,000 years or so ago, and one of the features are kind of the biogeographical aspects of plant distribution. So here's a species of sunflower whose distribution is in the northern Great Lakes regions, around the Straits especially, but actually it has populations that occur out in the Pacific Northwest. So, how is it that these strange and funky sort of breaks in plant distributions have come about? That'll be one of the main features of the course, as well as things like pollination biology and other sorts of interactions. And I finally want to give a plug to Tony for some of the neglected but incredibly beautiful plants. This is actually a diverse array of what we call graminoids. These are grasses, sedges, and rushes. This class is really all about making sense of the green world around you. And those of you who have taken a plant diversity course will know, the kind of empowering feeling that you get when you can recognize the diversity of species around you. And some of those include these little graminoids, grasses and their relatives. And Tony is an agrostologist by training. This is the kind of stuff that he loves to work on, and so you really will learn some of this incredible but tiny beauty that occupies this special region of northern Michigan. So again, that's kind of in a nutshell the course. I'm sorry I couldn't be there to interact a little bit more and to answer questions, but I'd be happy to field any by email or by phone if necessary. I hope to see at least some of you enrolled. Thanks again.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chuck, and it came through really well.
Oh, I can see all of you now. That's awesome.
Yeah. I want you to see that there really is like a big group of people.
Oh, yeah. No, I didn't get to see anyone earlier. Okay. Hi, everyone.
Okay, we're moving on. Please come get pizza. There's plenty of pizza still here. And we're going to switch over to the Rivers, Lakes, and Wetlands course now. Crystal Cole is an alum of the course, and Amy Schrank, who teaches it, couldn't be here today. She's still all the way up north. And so Crystal's going to tell you about Rivers, Lakes, and Wetlands. It'll just take you a second. So there's that. I can hear it. And it's your advice. All right, go for it.
Hi everyone, as Alicia said, I'm Crystal Cole. I'm an alum of Rivers, Lakes, and Wetlands from 2 years ago. Amy Schrank couldn't be here today, but she'll be teaching this class along with Donna Hollinsworth, who is here. Donna, raise your hand. If you have any questions, I have to run right after this, but Donna can answer any questions that you have. So first, the nuts and bolts. Rivers, Lakes, and Wetlands is cross-listed EEP Environment 311, and there's no prereqs for it, so you can come in with whatever experience you have. And it also fulfills the upper-level writing requirement, which is great. We write a few papers, and we do a lot of work analyzing data and writing those papers throughout the 8 weeks that you're up north at Biostation. A little background about the instructors. We have Amy and Donna. Amy teaches. She's a research faculty up at Michigan Tech University in the UP, and Donna teaches chemistry at Plymouth Canton Educational Park, or over at Salem High. Amy's been coming to the station since 1993 when she took summer courses as an undergrad. She took this course about, 20 years ago? I don't want to date her. And she's been teaching summer courses on and off since 2004, while Donna's been at the station since 2006. Both as a researcher and a teaching assistant for a variety of classes. So that's actually me over here. This is our very first day out in the field, actually. It was our first day of class. We went over to Carp Creek and we took some field samples. You'll be out in the streams and rivers and wetlands every day during this course. You visit a variety of ecosystems from streams and rivers like this one, and a lot of different lakes in the area too. This is out, is that out Quebec one? No, Quebec. There we are. Okay. Whereas this is Douglas Lake, which UMBS is located on the Shara, and we also go out to some of the wetlands around Lake Huron and Lake Michigan too. We also have the opportunity to go on the USGS research vessel, the Grayling, which is kind of like what the Great Lakes Oceanography students do as well. So we spend a day out there taking samples. Last time what did we do? We took trawl nets and we were trawling the bottom and we found a lot of quagga mussels. If you take this class, you'll know what those are and how invasive they are. It's great. And then finally, we spend a lot of time in wetlands looking at all the different plants, fish, and macroinvertebrates there. At this picture on the right, you can actually see we went to the wetlands over by the Mackinac Bridge, and that was a lot of fun too. We went up to the Upper Peninsula to sample some of the wetlands on the other side of the lakes. So we use these field trips to learn about both the physical and chemical characteristics of these systems. And during this course and all the courses that you take up at the biostation, you'll be doing research projects. So this is one person doing research on algae in streams up at the biostation. And these are some of the instruments that we used in the lakes and rivers to measure things like water quality and other parameters like that. As well as biological characteristics, you collect and analyze your own data to better learn and understand how these aquatic ecosystems work. And then you take all of that data and you combine it into a paper so that you're both collecting, analyzing, and preparing reports. It's the entire research process in one class. One of the other things we do is collect and study a variety of organisms from bugs and macroinvertebrates that you find in the dirt and sediment along the bottoms of these kinds of ecosystems. They form the basis of all of the entire ecosystem. So you'll find like mayfly larvae and dragonfly larvae and all sorts of fun things down there. But in addition to that, we also find a lot of fish and frogs. Felicia. Oh, there we are. So these are, I can't even tell what these are out here, but we find a lot of different fish and frogs in these ecosystems depending on where you go, between the wetlands, the lakes, and the different streams in the area. And oftentimes we become truly immersed in our work because what better way to understand the systems we study than to use all of our senses. Occasionally this can get carried a little bit too far when we start saving for things other than fish. So during this course, we learn many real-world techniques that researchers use to study aquatic systems. You'll gain a lot of experience on what actual researchers on the job do to study these ecosystems, and you get experience with all the different sampling methods that are commonly used in research reports. And it is a long course, and we do work hard. We often spend long days in the field, but a lot of times this is accompanied by a cookout or ice cream afterwards. And we also have a lot of fun too. Jesting is a great thing to do with the electroshockers before in the streets. In fact, the camaraderie that being immersed in fieldwork encourages is something that you really have to experience to understand. Like walking around in the bogs and trying not to fall through them into the water below. That's always a fun experience out there on the bog. Our Rivers, Lakes, and Wetlands class starts out this summer as a collection of separate students, but by the end of the summer, we're a big group and we're a big family, and we work and play and live together, and you'll make friends for life at UMBS, and some of you will probably come back another year like I did, and like I'm trying to do again. This will be my third summer at UMBS if I go. But taking classes here is how a lot of us got started. And this was the very first class I took at UMBS. So come join the fun of Rivers, Lakes, and Wetlands, where you'll work hard to gain a solid background in aquatic ecology and have fun doing it. Thank you.
Okay, next up we have Professor Paul Moore, who teaches Limnology. If you're keeping track, we have 4 more classes to go. So we're right on schedule. Paul's gonna, I'll let you.
Something.
Paul's gonna do
Okay.
something. Paul's gonna amaze us.
So you've seen a lot of aquatic classes, and just to give you a couple of facts, 77% of the Earth's surface is covered by water, right? 99% of all livable habitats aquatic. So if you really want to study biology, you really want to take one of these aquatic courses. Right? So we've got oceanography, we've got rivers, lakes, and wetlands, we've got Rex is going to follow me, we're Rex. With algae, you can study that stuff. We do limnology, freshwater ecology. And we don't lecture. The minute we get to class, we pack up the equipment, get in the vans, drive out in the field, we jump in the water. So from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., you're out sampling. Nature's our classroom. And instead of standing up here and telling you what we do, we take a lot of pictures of what we do out in the field and put a video together. So I'm going to show you a video of what the class actually does. So I could tell you what we do and all the stuff we learn, but instead I'll show you with the video what the class actually does. So you will hopefully play that.
Hold on.
It looks better than that.
All right.
All right, so there's at least 5 alumni of Limno in here, so if you have questions about these images and what we're doing on a daily basis, you can ask them, but we're out in the field, we're doing freshwater ecology just about every day.
Do you want to hand it off to Rex?
Yeah,
Okay, my colleague Pat Koselik and I teach a course on algae, freshwater ecosystems. Pat is at University of Colorado in Boulder. I'm currently at the Center for Limnology at University of Wisconsin from Bowling Green for a number of years. So a little overview of what we do and why we're all geeked out about algae, which is probably totally obscure to most of you. Remember when I confessed to my parents when I was in college that I wanted to spend the rest of my summer, my summer, the rest of my life studying algae. My father said, somebody going to pay you for that? And fortunately they have. It's been an exciting career, so let me tell you about what we do. So these are some of the goals of the course. We're going to introduce you to an exciting new world through the microscope of algae, important organisms. Every third breath you take, when you exhale, you should say, "Thank you, algae." They are responsible for 1/3 of photosynthesis on Earth, oxygenating our atmosphere. We're going to visit a fantastic group of aquatic or array of aquatic habitats in northern Michigan. We're going to demonstrate applications of algae in research and in water quality analysis. And at the end of this talk, I'll talk about the hands-on field research experience that you're going to get. There's some of the organisms. They are diverse and beautiful. If you've never been introduced to them before, amazing life histories, incredible life histories. Quite unlike our own and quite unlike mammals and invertebrates. There are a rich array of ecological strategies that the algae employ that we'll be investigating, many practical applications, particularly for monitoring aquatic ecosystems. Northern Michigan is a great place to study algae. We have such a tremendous array of aquatic habitats, and speaking not just for this course, if you're truly interested in biology, and particularly field biology, the last semester you should take off is the semester in the summer. If you need to take off a semester and work and make some money, do it in the winter. The world comes alive in the summer if you're a biologist, and that's the time to study it while things are going on. Okay? Just some of the habitats we'll be visiting this summer, from fens, bogs, lakes, streams, swamps. Any place where there's a little bit of water, a little bit of moisture, we'll find algae. We'll find an incredibly diverse community. Some of the folks in the field, wherever we go, our algae flag goes with this, with the algae geeks up there against the wall, studying a variety of habitats. Some of the importance of algae, it's the stuff we eat. Of course, you're probably familiar with sushi and the nori wraps around sushi. You might not be familiar with algae is responsible for the Nobel Peace Prize. Alfred Nobel invented nitroglycerin, and he invented dynamite, but he had to find a way to make nitroglycerin portable from place to place to blow things up. Nitroglycerin is very explosive. So Alfred Nobel experimented and found you could mix nitroglycerin with diatomaceous earth, the remnants of diatoms, and he invented dynamite. And probably felt so bad about it that he created the Nobel Peace Prize after creating all of these bits of artillery. Excellent for monitoring water quality, and now algae are being pursued as the next generation of biofuels. And several of the students that have been through this course have gone into that industry using algae to generate biofuels. And speaking of diet, I don't know how many of you take fish oil. You're probably too young to take fish oil. It's supposed to be good for you. It tastes awful. Secret is fish cannot make fish oil. Fish cannot make omega-3 oils. Incapable. It's not in their metabolism. They have to eat diatoms to do that. There are 2 diatoms toward the bottom of this figure loaded with oil. So that's another interest for people who are applying their algal knowledge to practical applications. There's the bad side of algae. You probably heard about the Toledo water system in Lake Erie going south this past fall with outbreaks of cyanobacteria and toxic algae, microcystis producing microcystin. So there's that side of this study as well, understanding who the bad guys are, how they're stimulated, and how to control them. Finally, the research project we're going to do this summer as a class project, and there will be a chance to do individual research as well. I was contacted by a group of property owners on Torch Lake, which is just south of us here, down near Traverse Bay. And we've gotten a contract to work on that lake this summer, and the algae class is going to be intimately involved in this. So this is Torch Lake, and it's supposed to be an oligotrophic lake. It's supposed to be a very clean lake, but they're beginning to get algal growth on the bottom of Torch Lake. And this is a close-up in the upper left here of what they're seeing on the bottom. They call it golden slime. And slime is not a bad word to me. I love slime. But this is what it looks like under the microscope to the lower left. We started analyzing samples, okay? And what we're seeing is a couple of groups of algae. The diatoms that dominate here are a genus called Epithemia that house endosymbiotic nitrogen fixers inside the cell, which tells us that there is phosphorus coming into the bottom of the lake if algae are desperately grabbing nitrogen and fixing nitrogen, and they dominate the system. So we're going to be investigating that. There's also a blue-green cyanobacterium, Geitleranema, these fine threads that are sort of weaving the sand together. So we're going to be working on that project this summer as well. And this thing, this is an alga called Stigonema, which is another cyanobacterium that is way out of place. If we want to find Stigonema in northern Michigan, we go to fens, and we go to bogs, and we go to sort of pH circumneutral areas. It does not belong in Torch Lake. I have no idea why it's there, but we're going to find out this summer. And the way we do this, we create these point sources of nutrients. These are our clay flower pots that we fill with agar and a suite of nutrients, nitrogen and phosphorus, to determine what is limiting algal growth. We put these out in the lake. Nutrients leach out of the flower pots, and in this last slide, this is what they look like when they come up. And you can see the ones that have a lot of algal growth on them. This was another study where we loaded them with phosphorus and determined that algae were phosphorus limited in this system. So that's what we do. If you have any questions, here are a couple of email addresses of both Pat and myself. His dean just came down on him to finish a grant that's due in 3 days, so Pat couldn't be here. I think there's one more slide. Maybe Alicia, just slime people out in the field. No, that's fine. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
guys.
thanks.
There we go. Okay. Down to the last two. We have Brian Schultens, who's going to talk about his biology of insects class. There you go.
Okay. See if I can make this work. So I only have 3 slides. Partly because I knew I was going a little bit farther toward the end of this list. And you will have seen lots and lots of the habitats that my class goes to in all these previous presentations. So field biology classes are a unique opportunity, and that's what Rex was getting at. Be there in the summer. That's when things are happening. I teach the biology of insects, and whereas we were informed that 70% of the earth is water, right? 75% of all the big stuff that you can see is bugs. And we try to give you some feeling for that diversity of insects over the course of the summer. We do independent study projects as a class. We also count as a writing intensive class for upper level courses, which is good. This is my class from last summer. You can see that in general, you probably noticed our classes are small. So you get a lot of attention from professors at the biological station. It's a really unique situation to have. And we do lots of collecting techniques that you may not be familiar with. Yes, that is someone sucking up bugs. Hopefully not into their mouth. But we will be out in the field a lot, getting insects, bringing them back to the lab, looking at them, identifying them, studying what they're doing. We mix lab and field and lecture topics throughout the term to talk about the biology of insects. Basically, we start from scratch, assume you know nothing about them, and try to give you an appreciation for what insects are like over the course of the summer. What I want to do by the end of the summer is to have you understand how important insects are for freshwater, aquatic, and terrestrial ecosystems, and how much you still want to learn about them, because you can't learn it all in one summer. And last slide. This is where we do our class project. We go out to Wilderness State Park, which is a huge state park in the northwestern corner of the Upper Peninsula. And lots of dune systems, fen systems, forests, and we explore that park. We're trying to work on different groups of insects each summer, surveying those insects. As I said, 75% of all the big stuff you can see is insects. And we don't know what we even have. So we're starting to try to figure that out. And over the course of the last 4 years that my class has been doing this, they've been able to document 300 different species of insects in just a handful of families that we've concentrated on in Wilderness State Park. So each year we pick a different set of families that we know basically hardly anything about, and try to explore those and figure out what's in the park and what kind of habitats they live in. And in the process of doing that, you end up learning a lot about insect ecology and the habitat associations that those insects have. And just to finish up, if you need to find out anything about the class, there's a lot of information here. Alicia also has that information, so feel free to contact me, call me or email me. I'm happy to give you more information about the class. We have a great deal of fun, as all the classes do during the summer, and I hope that we can get you up to the station and participating and taking some of these classes. Thanks.
Thank you, Brian. I misspoke. We have 2 more. I'm sorry, guys. Settle down. They're a duo, so it's unbelievable what they're going to do. You're not going to believe this. But Stoina's going to, she should have been with the aquatic people, and I skipped her. Stoina's going to talk about the biology of fishes class. If you have to leave, we do have more bulletins over here. And
I'm going to pass these around. These are booklets. I'm going to be sending these to anybody who's already accepted. You're going to be getting an information packet within the next couple of weeks. And it'll include a new one of these. But I'm going to just pass these around. They're little booklets that just kind of give you a map of the place, tells you what to bring, what to expect. Ignore the dates and the keys because they're a year or 2 old, but we'll get you new ones. But these are kind of fun to look at. So I'll pass these around.
all right, go, Stoina.
Okay, thank you guys for coming tonight. So, I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about biology and ecology of fishes. This guy with the goofy face up here is Paul Webb, who is the professor this summer, and I'll be the TA. We meet on Tuesdays and Fridays, so there's plenty of time for you guys to do other activities at the bio station. So unfortunately, Paul can't be here with us tonight, but he did manage to send me his greetings from a remote destination. So what are we going to ask in this class? This class is going to ask a lot of different questions, but broadly speaking, we're going to ask, where do fish live? Why do they live there? And who do they live with? Because just like us, fish prefer certain roommates over others. So every day is a field day, and we're gonna have tons of fun. We're gonna sample waters all around UMBS, whether it's lakes, wetlands, streams, we'll do it all. So like I mentioned, we'll be at a lot of different sites. Fish community and behavior can vary based on the habitat, so we'll need to visit all those sites. The top left corner here shows a more sandy habitat. We'll expect a certain fish assemblage over, let's say, a rocky area. On top of all these different environments, we'll visit some fish hatcheries and you can see some young of the year, which is a really neat sight. That's a glimpse of what that looks like. So with all these fish out there, we have to have all these different ways of capturing them. And we'll use a variety of nets, underwater TVs. The center image here shows a minnow trap, which we actually use dog food to bait the fish in. Surprisingly, they enjoy dog food. On top of that, we'll do some underwater snorkeling and try to catch some fish with our bare hands. Seining is a popular method that we'll use down here. One of my personal favorites. Backpack electroshocking, really neat technique. It'll actually stun the fish right before we capture them. But importantly, with all these different techniques, we'll not only know how to use them, but where to apply them. So basically, though, we're going to catch a lot of different fish. And sometimes we'll run into a turtle. But I wanted to mention that if you guys have never touched a fish before, that's okay, because neither had I before I took this class. And now I'm clearly obsessed with fish. So I also included a picture of this ice cream parlor down here because Paul treats us to ice cream after most field classes. Thank you. But what I really like about the class is it's small. Unlike the classes up here, you don't really get a lot of time with the professor. Down at the bio station, you get one-on-one interactions. And this is a picture of my class when I took fishes a couple summers ago. So this is Paul made this slide. I was going to skip it because I don't think I could deliver it as well. But can you? Oh, I'm sorry. I'll do it. Can you imagine a world is seen by a fish, and can you chase them from their hidey holes? Will they tremble at the sound of your name? If the answer is yes, you will be in biology, ecology of fishes. And along the way, you will also gain a lot of research experience, field skills, very helpful for the future. You actually get to design your own projects. I know the classes or the labs here, you kind of are told what to do, where you have an input at the bio station. So you get to know your professors, like I mentioned, and they write great recommendation letters. I know Paul writes fantastic ones. But if you still have some lingering doubts about whether you should take fishes, all you have to do is follow the ice cream trail, and it'll lead you back to fishes at UMBS. So please do come join the fun, and we all look forward to having you guys in the summer. I'll be here to answer any questions you guys have. I know I see a few other people from fishes, so they can also help. Thank you guys for listening.
All right, last one. Hang in there, because this is really something special. You won't believe it.
We have to come up with dances.
That's right. We have John and Bob who teach the forest ecosystems class.
It's okay that we're last, people. When you get your picture on the front page, that's why we can be last. It doesn't matter. My name's John Searing. This is Bob Fahey. Bob's from the Morton Arboretum in Chicago. This guy got up early to take a train over here today. I'm at Linfield College, which is a small liberal arts college just south of Portland. I got up at 4 a.m. to catch a plane out here. This is the only thing I'm doing, by the way, is just here. I'm doing two things. I want to talk to you about the station. I want to back up. You can take our class or not take our class, but it's super important to think about coming to the station. It may be hard to find the time. It may be hard to find the money. I was at the station in '93. I came back in 2000. Every job I got, all the way up to being a professor, is because of that work that I did in '93. So getting to the station is really, really critical. Our class is great. I hope you do take it. But any of these classes that people have been talking about are really special. The first day of class, I show my students a picture of my wedding photo, and I circle everybody on there who's been at the station. And my wife was a member of the I married somebody at the station. And 80% of the people in my wedding photo made their way through the station. I only know how to hang out with people who've been at the station. I can't interact. It's gonna change your life in ways that it's hard to actually get up here and you can show these slides and the videos and the pictures that you're seeing, like it changes your life, and that's why everybody's so excited about this kind of stuff. We do have a few slides.
And then we can show the pictures.
We'll show some pictures.
He discounts my pictures, but
We do have some pictures.
Okay, I want to show what you guys look like. Hold on.
Follow in.
Go.
Okay, so I have the standard boilerplate UMBS forest ecosystems. It's a class where we go out and study forest ecosystems. It's community ecology, ecosystem ecology, all the different things that go on in forests. So yes, there's science involved.
Oh, sorry.
There's also fun. No, this.
Okay.
I'm going through them quick because we're like way over.
No, you're good.
Lots of fun. Old growth forests. You may not know this, but there are some really amazing old growth forests in Michigan, and I know where they are. And I'll show them to you. Keep going. Places like the Two-Hearted River and this amazing fire that occurred up there a couple years ago, studying the ecosystem response to that fire. Places like Pictured Rocks, so again, cover photo there, where there's some really cool, as Chuck said, boreal ecosystems and a mixture of different ecosystems to look at, and also just fun stuff to see. And then most importantly, as John said, come to bug camp so you can sit and watch the sunset. Okay.
We'll be around. Please come talk to us.
Are there any announcements, applications? Any quick announcements?
You want me to go over applications real quick? Okay.
Peggy, hold on. Peggy is our. Oh, come up here. I want to get you. Just 5 more minutes, please.
Oh, okay. Have many of you applied already? Anybody who's here already applied but accepted? If you've applied, you've been accepted. So. Anyway, for those of you who haven't, no, we're in room 2541 chemistry. There's Carrie, Alicia, and myself, and we're happy to talk to you anytime about the station. We're there Monday through Friday, and we'll talk about the station all day long. So come anytime. Applications are available now, and we still have openings in all the classes. Besides the classes that you've seen, faculty from tonight, there's also general ecology, natural history and evolution. What else? They're in the bulletin, but there's several other classes that are offered. So please feel free to apply. We'll take applications right up until the term starts. However, we also have generous financial aid available. So if you are interested in applying for financial aid, please make sure you do that by March 15th, because that's our deadline for equal consideration for financial aid. And we have both merit and need-based. So we'll happy to talk to you more about that. Transportation up to the station, we do have arrangements for that, so you don't have to bring a car up or anything like that. For those of you who have applied, we'll be having, like I said, more information. It will be sent out in the next couple weeks. But any questions in the meantime, please feel free to call us or stop by or email us, whatever's easiest. Carrie is our associate director. She's over here, yep, right there. And she's usually there too. Alicia, who you've met already, is there. And we'd love to talk to you, so come by anytime. Thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you all. Raise your hand if you're a faculty member or an alum of the station, so it's probably half the room at this point. If you have questions, if you're a student with questions, come see these people. Our alumni are always happy to talk about their experience, and the faculty are too. So I think that's all. Thank you. Please take it. If there's any pizza left, please help us get rid of that. And yeah, thank you for coming. Bye-bye.